We have with us another young Indian today, part of the Voice of the Young series. Hello, everyone. Right now, we have with us Pranoy Krishna. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Pranoy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Subodh. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here. This is a really great opportunity. In fact, I fondly remember I think it was during the pandemic, I had the privilege of attending one of your talks. I think it was organized by Economica, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
And I remember you were talking a little bit about foreign diplomacy, India-China trade relations, and
Yes.
whatnot. So, and this is truly exhilarating to see that forward after a few years, I'm getting to have this conversation with you in person. It's truly amazing, and I thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'd like to thank you for what you are doing to the young economic community for giving us this platform to talk and express what we feel. And thank you so much for that. And first of all, I'd like to formally introduce myself before I begin. And so my name is Pranoy Krishna. I come from Kerala. I did my bachelor's in economics from St. Mary's College, under the University of Calicut. And after that, I went on to pursue my master's in applied economics from Christ University, Bangalore. And towards the end of the course,
By the
it
way,
was
what do they call Calicut these days? That's not a name anymore, right?
no, they call it Kozhikode actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the university is still it's like the University of Madras in Chennai. So that the similar thing goes on here as well. So yeah, so towards the end of the course, I was recruited to Reuters as a correspondent, and I'm currently undergoing my training here as a trainee correspondent. And I am a part of the Reuters polls and economic data team, where we handle economic data, talk to a lot of economists, and write stories and come up with a bunch of interesting stuff if you're an econ geek, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's what I do here right now.
Yeah.
And the way I have planned to carry on this discussion is by making it a three segmented one. First, I would like to share my journey, how I got into the field of economics, and I got here, how I got here. And after that, I'll explain a little bit about what I do right now, what all jobs that I take care of right now in my field. And after that, I'll discuss a little bit about what I would aspire to be in the future.
All right.
I would aspire to be somewhere down the line. And I'd like to begin by requesting Dr. Madhu to intervene whenever you want. If I am unclear on something, or if I want to throw some light on something, please feel free to intervene. Please feel free to do that. And so, yeah, thank you, Dr.
It's
Madhu.
a pleasure to have you here. So let's continue.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madhu. And so first of all, how I got into the field of economics, as I watched some of the Vidped prior to like attending this talk, I got to realize that my story is not at all unique. So most of the people that got into the field of economics did not plan it up front, did not start preparing for it right from the beginning of the years. It happened by chance. Somebody took it intentionally, somebody did not. I think the story is similar in my case as well.
Hang on for a second. The person I interviewed just before you, he actually went to college to apply for chemistry. And for various reasons, he couldn't actually submit his application in time. Personal reasons. So then he was going from college to college in Patna. And even one chemistry place, they said no. But they said, hey, economics is next door. Go there. He went there. He did not know anything. They said, fine, we admit you. So he got admitted into economics, and then, he says he's going to do a PhD in it now. So
wonderful.
It's totally accidental. So you're all right. Let's continue. Sorry to interrupt. Let's continue.
No worries, Dr. Madhu. So, so I took up science, the physics, chemistry, maths, and biology stream, the one that breeds doctors and engineers, as they call it. And I was deemed to become an engineer or a doctor by many of the relatives who thought that that's why I took this particular stream. But I ended up choosing economics, which surprised many of my relatives. And the perspective towards economics in Kerala, especially in a place like Kerala, is very shady. People don't consider it to be a viable career option. People think that people take up economics if when they don't have any alternatives. In fact, I had many alternatives in my mind. I had got an opportunity to pursue my degree in some of the STEM fields. I could have gone towards engineering, but I decided to pursue economics for the simple reason that I wanted to shift my angle towards government services, and I felt that it would have been a reasonable take, and that's why initially I got into the field of economics. And after joining economics, I came to know that my mathematical knowledge that I acquired during my 12th grade came in very handy, and it was more quantitatively rigorous than I expected it to be. And as I got a hand of it, I was enjoying it because I could do it well, and I was enjoying the reasoning behind all the theories. And I came to know that this is something that I would consider doing towards my career as well, and I became really interested in that. And my mother being a teacher of economics at the college level helped that as well, was saying that it is indeed interesting, and the conversation that we used to have in fact feeded into that. And so that is why and during the pandemic, I was engaged in preparing for my master's entrance, and ultimately I got into Christ and decided to pursue my master's in applied economics. And again, the the thing that happened there was that we had a master dissertation, and that's when I actually found out what area of research I'm interested in. I was interested in public policy, political economy, and developmental economics more so. So then my research was largely based on that. I would talk a little bit about my research as well. My research was focusing on the developmental models, especially the Kerala economic model, the Tamil Nadu economic model, and the Gujarat economic model. So I was doing an interstate comparison of both,
Mhm.
and the research was from a budgetary perspective. So so I found out that some of the states, especially Kerala, were doing so, like spending a lot on subsidies, and while they were lacking a little bit on the capital expenditure side, and the private investment was really low. And some of these and which as a result they were going into fiscal deficit, and they were holding back on a lot of expenditures to the state. And Gujarat economy on the other hand focused on the growth first and then development based model, where they invested in a lot of capital expenditure in the beginning, and they build a sound capital base so that they can generate jobs and secure the economy on that front. And the Tamil Nadu economic model is not that widely discussed. It's called the Dravidian economic model. um, so we bought in that it is an ideal comparison candidate, so we bought in that particular model as well, to sort of bridge the gap between the growth first and then development, and then development first then growth. So it was really interesting, and that's when I realized that I was more interested in public policy. And the whole of all of the analysis was conducted from a budgetary perspective, like how much is being spent on revenue expenditure, how much is being spent on capital expenditure, and whatnot. So that sort of fueled my interest in economics, and I was initially planning to pursue a PhD right after my master's. And that's
Pranoy,
that.
just a
Yeah,
second. Just
sure,
I,
sure.
yeah, I want to
Yeah,
make a professional point here. Okay.
sure, sure.
Some time back, I wrote
Yeah,
op-ed. It was
okay.
called Subsidy Raj.
Oh wow, wonderful. Wow.
Subsidy Raj, and the
Okay.
point of it was that uh, government spent too much on subsidies,
Ah,
aggregate, and when they spend
ah,
so much on subsidies, then they
they go
don't
hold
have
back on
enough
privatism as well.
government. They don't have enough government, crucial government expenditure, and the
Yep.
absence of the government expenditure
Yeah.
on investment
Yeah.
reduces the private investment also.
Exactly.
So what you
100%
are
agree with you.
doing is that you are supporting the current generation at the expense of the future generation. So, and
Yeah.
then later I wrote an article which said that the way is to cap subsidy Raj. It's not to fight one individual subsidy, but rather the total of the subsidy in the budget should be capped. Like
Okay.
we have caps on so many things now in reservations or this or that, so that there should be a cap on the
All
total
right.
subsidy in a government budget, and the focus was not on what I call as the union government's budget, but on the
Okay.
state and union
Wow.
messages. So what I'm saying is that India is now in subsidy Raj. The permit license Raj is gone, but subsidy Raj is there. You were there in Bangalore, so you know what happened in
Yeah.
the recent election.
Karnataka
It
elections.
is
Yep.
a huge subsidy that has been promised. And
Yep.
even if they can deliver the subsidy, which many people
Yeah.
question, but if
Yeah.
they deliver the subsidy, it's at the expense of what?
Revenue expenditure,
It's at the expense
capital
of
expenditures.
it's at the expense of capital expenditure.
Exactly. Yep.
So you said please interfere. So I am coming in
Oh no,
and
please feel
saying, that I didn't have the data which you have in support of this. So maybe you and I should write another article on subsidy Raj with
sure,
your
sure,
data and your analysis. And I'm
sure,
saying
sure.
it
I would love
openly
to.
on this show because I find your analysis to be very helpful and useful. Nobody else has talked about it to me. So let's
Sure,
think about writing a joint article on
sure, sure,
subsidy Raj and its implications. So
sure,
thank
sure. I would.
you. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Pranoy.
Dr. Mathur.
I just
Thank you
wrote
so
it
much, Doctor.
without data because I just sensed this is before the Karnataka election. I wrote it almost 2 years ago. That
All right.
subsidy Raj
Okay.
is what it's subsidy Raj that is holding back growth. And I'm not against subsidies. I am actually a guy who has designed subsidies for most of his life. But what I'm saying is that the aggregate should be
Careful subsidies. Yep.
the total
Careful
subsidy.
spend.
It should be
Yeah.
under control. Anyway, sorry to
Cool.
interrupt, but you had
No
told me
worries,
to
Doctor.
interrupt.
No.
So here we are. All
Thank you
right.
so much, Dr.
I
Mathur.
don't
Thank you
talk
so
this
much.
much with other people, but you are a point that I want to promote. Okay, so let's continue. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Mathur.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So yeah, so that's so that was regarding my master's thesis and what I was during my master's. And post which, when I came to Reuters, the team that I'm currently present in right now, they deal a lot with economics in particular. We do polls on economists. So what we do is, like, we do polls on economies, like the US economy. I'm currently handling the US economy right now, and there are people who handle the UK economy, the India economy. So whenever economic indicators come in, we open the polls to economists, and we collect their opinions, comments, and their take on what the indicators would. They do the forecasting. We don't do the forecasting, we just collect the forecast from them. And then we write for stories based on that. And it's really interesting. The one of the best parts that I have experienced after there is, of course, the good part and the bad part. The best part that I experienced after coming into this team is the fact that the people that I get to talk to, I get to talk to a lot of people from the database. I get to call them, I get to talk to them, and I get to take their views. And the networking aspect of this job is really astounding. And that was something that really excited me. And the bad part about this is that, like, I got to know that some of the things that we learn in the classrooms in economics, it's it's not that like comparable with the real world economics. If you see, if I can take the example of the US economy, because I've been working it for some time now. So I feel like the traditional Phillips curve that we all used to learn in our classrooms, the inverse relationship between unemployment and inflation, we see that the US economy is not at all following that trend these days. We see that unemployment is going down, and the level of inflation is also going down. It's closer towards the 2% target set by the government, and they are following a restrictive monetary policy to curb inflation. So to the viewers, like, the government usually follows this restrictive policy when they feel that the inflation is high, to sort of mop up the excess liquidity in the market, which eventually makes the borrowing more costly, and which sort of mops up the overall liquidity in the market and the value, and and then the prices come down. So that's what generally happens. So that's why, to bring the economy towards the target, the government has been like hiking up rates. Currently, in the last September meeting, they held the rates from 5.25 to 5.5 rate.
Mm.
And so this is what generally happens. We see that some of the things that we learned in the classrooms in economics is entirely different from what the major economists or the mega banks or the all the central banks in the world discuss. Of course, from things like the informal economy and what happens in the ground level will also come into play while making this decision. But what people usually focus on is more to the quantitative side, or else we can say the neoclassical or new monetarist views of economics. So that is what I have been doing in this team right now, and it's as I said, the best part of that is of course networking and writing stories based on that. And economic journalism, if you say, it's largely unknown to many people. Like most of the people who take up economics don't either go into the academic field or they go on to become economists in major banks. And there is we sort of bridge the gap between the economists and the common people. So there is academicians who design economic models and theories, and then there are economists who come after that, who apply these theories on the basis of models and whatnot. And then there are economic journalists like us who take the information from them and bridge the gap between them and the common people. So that's what we do here at Reuters. And for that matter, like any major economic or business related news outlets in the world. And so that is something that uh, has been fascinating to me. And I got to learn a lot about economies around the world. For example, I got to learn how the UK has been performing, how the US has been performing. Many of my friends went on to pursue degrees in the US, and I got to tell them that be careful. The economy is not looking in in a good in
Yeah.
a good light right now.
Yeah.
So do a little bit of research
Yeah.
and go. And what was surprising to me was that how India fared against all the major economies. I feel like India has fared much better than much of the economies around the world. I don't and I don't say this because I'm an Indian. I say this because I've been following up the facts and figures for quite some time, and this is my personal judgment on that. And there has been many fruitful deals and decision has been happening from the government side, like the PLI scheme, the new IMEC corridor that has been revealed in the G20 meeting, and many new initiatives that sort of puts India further on the map, right? And as a good alternative to like the dampening Chinese demand. And I feel like you'll be a better person to like explain the India-China relationships and diplomacy aspects of it. But that is my take on that. And so this has been my experience in economics so far. And of course, stemming from all of this, if I can say, the my research interests include, of course, the development economics. And after doing this job, it has sort of advanced to the monetary aspects as well. And of course, there are a lot of things like the markets which I am yet to venture into, like the bonds, the bond markets and the markets in per se. And so that is some of the things that I have experienced learning economics and then coming forward and practicing economics in the real world. And now I would like to discuss my path moving forward, what I would like to
Hey,
plan in the future.
before you go
Sure,
there, you
sure,
mentioned
sure.
the bond market,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's one of the most important markets and the least understood.
ha,
Okay.
yeah,
Most people think of the stock market and they know, like, the Dow Jones or Nifty or whatever it is, but most
yeah,
people don't understand the bond market, and it is
yeah,
really much more important than the stock
yeah.
market.
Agreed, completely
So
agreed.
I think it'll be great if
Yeah,
I'm not 100% into it, but I'll be
ah,
happy if you pick that up and make it
sure, sure,
one of the things that you understand and learn and understand.
sure,
Because
sure.
ultimately, even in India, the
Yeah,
bond market is going to become very important. and
Sure, as it is a
especially,
developing country.
well, right now, but if the governments are going to borrow, then
Yeah,
the bond market is going to, if they're going to borrow commercially to
yeah,
finance their debt in the budget, but their
yeah,
budget deficits, if they're going to have commercial finance, then the
yeah,
bond market will become important, and you know that. So why
yeah.
don't, my hint is the bond market is a good thing to know.
Sure, got it, got it.
Right.
Actually, like you remember, so as a polling team, like we are a team of like a small team, like around the world, like 20 to 24 people based out, and our main boss sits at London, and he actually reiterates the same thing that you actually said. Like the bond markets is actually the one of the fundamental things that you should learn, like as an and I know, like in economics schools, especially in India or abroad for that matter, they focus a lot on like theories, and these aspects of it is not actually taught, like not
Yes,
actually taught. Like
that's
once,
not
yeah,
about. That's why I'm saying please
yeah,
learn it.
yeah, got it, yeah.
Yeah.
And he actually reiterates the same thing, and I completely agree with you. It is something that should be known, and I am in pursuit of understanding a good grasp of it, and hopefully in quite some time I get a good grasp of it. So yeah,
All right, good. Let's
yeah,
continue with
sure,
your talk.
yeah. And right now, like I revealed a little bit earlier during the talk, I wanted to pursue a PhD, like when I was doing my master's, specifically in the field of development economics, public policy, political economy. That was my research interest back then. And when I got into this field, into this Reuters, I sort of picked up a few research interests as well. So I feel like somewhere down the line, I will be pursuing a PhD, but I haven't decided on that particular timeline yet. I'm at a point in my career where I do have a lot of options, but I don't want to make the wrong choice and regret it later on. So I would like to take some time to like enjoy the work here, uh, learn more about economics, like bond markets, like you mentioned, get a good grasp of it, and then decide and move forward. But I seriously do consider that I would be going back to school at some point, getting a PhD degree or a second master's at some point. But yeah, that's my future plans. And as of now, I would like to stay here and just enjoy the journey for quite some time. So that is my take on that. So that
Okay,
is the three segments that I marked down.
okay, but let me add a segment for you. Any
Yeah.
hints you have for your juniors?
I would say just give some time to like think like what you really want to pursue. Like do you want to become a professor and teach at the university level? Then start doing research internships as soon as possible. Focus more on research. Is it something that you're passionate about? Do you want to pursue it as uh, a job, but no, you don't want to get into a PhD? Just look for more into the research angle of things. You can maybe become part of a think tank and things like that. So I would say that one of the biggest thing that I want is the perception towards economics should change. In places like Kerala, people see that people like I mentioned during the beginning of the call, people think that students who take up economics doesn't have much of a future. And there's a popular joke in Kerala: if you throw a stone up in the sky, it's gonna probably land in the head of an engineer. So
Yeah,
that's that's how much of an engineer that we have in Kerala. And still parents force students in Kerala to pursue engineering or medical sciences. I'm certainly not saying that it's a bad choice, it is a tremendous choice. But students, like the younger generation, should also look up to like subjects like economics, like, and enjoy the beautiful subject of economics, like
okay.
start to that would be my advice to the younger generation.
Yeah, but that's preaching. But what about practical hints? Like suppose they become, they decide to do economics courses, what kind of advice, you know, how much to study, how much to enjoy? You didn't talk much about your college life and Christ
Yeah,
University, but maybe
yeah,
you can say, you know, how you manage to juggle things and get work done and enjoy. Let's
yeah, sure.
let's hear that human side from you.
Yeah, sure, sure. I'm sorry I missed some of that. I actually wanted to talk, but then when I started talking, I got into the flow and
Yeah,
forgot a few things.
yeah.
uh, So yeah, so I did enjoy my college life. It was amazing. The people that I got to interact with. See, I come from a very small college in Kerala. It's not compared to like much of the big names that you see in Kerala. I don't think 99% of the people wouldn't know the college. Expect from a very few people located around that college. So from there to Christ University, it was a big change. So the people I met, the economists I met. So during the Afghan takeover that happened. We had a student who was from Afghanistan who went and became a ambassador to the US from Afghanistan, who was an alumni of our department who came in and gave us a talk. And so the people that we were interacting during the master's level, they opened up a lot of perspectives towards me. Okay,
Mm.
this is actually a good choice, and I can actually make a good career out of it. And the college life was extremely interesting. I got to do a lot of internships in between. I interned as an credit analyst at Dhanlakshmi Bank. It was a corporate internship, and I interned under Professor G. Ramesh, who is a professor at IIM Bangalore. I did a research internship under him, so I got to experience both the research internship side and the corporate internship side. And certainly, one of the things that I would like to say is that the academic structure in many of the universities is, I'd say, it's a little hectic. Even if it's not difficult, I'd say it's a little hectic, so that people don't get enough room to like explore themselves. That's much of the situation in many of the private universities in India. I won't say the same about many public universities, but the private universities deal with a lot of issues like this. So if that is more liberal, students would get to like explore more, think a lot more, and decide on finally what they want to pursue. I was fortunate enough to give myself a space for that, even if the course was hectic, so that I got to know like what I would want to pursue somewhere down line in my career. So that was something interesting that I did during my masters. And of course, I was an active participant in all the extracurricular activities. I was elected as a chief editor of the department, where I was managing the a magazine called Ephemeris, which and we were managing that. We were curating articles, and that helped a lot while I was applying for this job at Reuters as well. They saw that editor aspect in me, and then they decided to take me in. So that matters a lot. Like I would say, like, if you're in college, you shouldn't be like a bookworm and just confine yourself to just the books. Give yourself time to like just like explore yourself a little bit, read more, and talk to more people, build good relationship with your professors. I think that's going to help a lot going forward in the career. That's what I feel.
Okay. Anything else you want to add at this time?
uh Nothing particular. I would like to like ask a question though, if I have the liberty to do that
Please
to you, like.
ask.
Yeah.
Ask.
So oh, thank you, doctor. So so what do you think the path for Indian economy going forward is? Do you think it's a likely, competitor to China? We see that the Chinese demand and the Chinese manufacturing sector is sort of like weakening, and the overall the PMI figures indicate that the overall demand is a little bit weakening. So, do you think that with the new PLI schemes and the new economic corridors, do you think India will emerge as a likely, candidate to China in the coming years?
Okay. Let me just give a little bit of a background. Uh,
Sure.
Chinese economy is in trouble. We had an expert, Professor
Yeah.
Anil Laliker, on this channel, and he told
Okay.
us about the problems in the Chinese economy, and I'm also
Okay.
aware. Uh,
Yeah.
but when you listen to him and you think about it,
Yeah.
the problem in China is not at all useful or helpful to India
All right.
directly, because
All right.
China is no longer dependent on exports for its economy. This is
Oh.
a central
Okay.
point that many people are missing. They think that the
Okay.
Chinese economy is dependent on exports of low-cost items.
Yeah.
No longer. That was the case
All right.
15 years ago. But for the last 10 years, They have really been driven by local investment.
Okay.
Okay. And they are being driven by high tech. Okay. They are ahead of most countries in the emerging technologies. They are not behind at all. If at all, the rival is US and no one else. So China is no longer an economy, has not been an economy that is dependent on low-cost manufacturing. Yes, they are low cost, but they are now making electric vehicles that will soon give a run. Europe is already trying to stop imports of EVs from China.
Okay.
It's not like they're selling this $2 stuff anymore. They are selling electric vehicles, and they sell more Chinese electric vehicles in China than does Tesla. And BYD and others are actually gaining ground, and they are very much in science and technology, in high tech. And
all right. So do you think, sorry to intervene, like, so do you think the diplomatic problems that China have at the moment, like with many of the countries, do you think that that's going to hamper their prospects going forward?
no,
To becoming
they have two current economic issues. One they cannot solve. One is their population problem. They are paying for the stupid policy of one-child policy. So now they are stuck. They don't have enough workers. They don't have low-cost workers left anymore. There aren't enough people to do the work. So they have to give that up. And the population is actually declining. So, and you know, the median age in China is 40 years. The median age in India is 30. So they don't have young people left in China. They are old before they are rich. Okay. Japan is like 50, Germany is 50 median age, US is 40, but per capita income in US is much, much more than China. So China is old before it is rich, and that is a fundamental problem for China, that they don't have workers. So they cannot be in low-cost manufacturing. Okay. So the fact that they've already given it up. It's nothing to say that they are now, and they are stumbling because of the many reasons, but you should listen to Anil Devlalikar. But one of the key reasons is that the government has overinvested. There are thousands of flats that have been built and nobody to live in it. Real estate is a real problem. They've built new cities and no one's living there. So the economy is driven, you know, the level of investment in China is 40% of GDP. In India, it's less than 30. It's too low in India. And it's too high in China. So you're an economist. The returns to investment in China are too low, or to put it in Indian technical terms, the incremental capital output ratio is too high in China. It's 8. So in India, it must be 4.5 to 5. In China, the incremental capital output ratio is very high. Means they're wasting their money. And so now the financial system is suffering heavy losses because you have built all these things. Nobody wants them. You have built a fancy, nice, very high-speed train to Tibet, but there's no returns on it. So there's too much government investment, far from what you and I talked about at the beginning. So the opportunity for India is there, but India is not ready. India is not ready. I mean, you know, the iPhone production through Foxconn in Tamil Nadu, the yield is 50%. The output comes and only 50% are meeting the export quality standards. And then the infrastructure, the supply chain in China, as Anil Devlalikar says, is super efficient. Whereas the supply chain in India, we are saying, okay, we are building highways, we are building railways and all, but it's not comparable. It's just nowhere at all. So for us, China's problems are no benefit. Okay, Chinese problems are no benefit because much of the investment leaving China is going to Vietnam. Not to India. Some coming to India, but really, okay, that's that. Okay, now I don't want to talk much more, but I have started a discussion on what I called as non-official India development goals.
Okay.
Okay, so
Interesting.
we have done the first recording last Sunday, and it will be soon be up on YouTube. And
Interesting.
then that will show my vision of how India can become a well-off country by 2047. It's not yet up on YouTube because we have a new format in it.
Okay.
I'm no longer presenting things and nobody there. We
Okay.
have 4 young people like you who have been discussing,
Okay.
who have done Vidpeds with me, who were there present,
Okay.
and I'd given them the PowerPoint beforehand. So they'd seen
Okay.
it, and they've come prepared with their comments. We are just assembling it now. And we will
interesting.
have another one. So I will have 5 sessions with these panel of 4 people on
Okay.
the goals. And then after we have discussed the goals and they've had a chance to comment on it, I mean, we will have
Yep.
it as soon as it is ready. And then we will discuss what India should do. And in it,
Wonderful.
one of the goals is that India should become competitive with China. Okay, so China is very much there. I've been writing
Yep.
on Quora since 2019. My
Yep. I do
slogan
read
on
a lot of your
Quora
answers.
is wake up, wake up, wake up, China, not Pakistan, China, not Pakistan, China, not Pakistan. I wrote it in September 2019 that we should really just focus on China. But and we are far, far behind them. You know, the other day we read that India is ordered 500 planes from the French company, right? Airbus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's great because we are going to get so many planes, business is flying, economy is booming. And then 3 weeks later, you say that France has signed an agreement with China to make some of the planes there.
Ha.
So we are buying, they are making.
Exactly.
They are not making small things, they are making the planes.
Yep.
We are thrilled that we are buying, and of course France was thrilled. The president was there with Modi virtually with our prime minister and the French president, because 500 planes is big export market, so they are happy. And so, but next 3 weeks later, they go and sign with China that will you please manufacture most of the parts there. So we can't manufacture the planes for Airbus, but China can.
Yeah.
So that's where their manufacturing is moving into the high end, has already moved into the high end. And, you know, we are going to have the high-speed train between Ahmedabad and Mumbai, but it's half the speed of the Chinese trains already running.
Wow.
So we should not think of China as a low-cost exporter of low-cost goods. It is a very high-quality manufacturer of high-quality goods. And if you look at India's imports from China, right? Take a look. The top 10 commodities are not consumer goods.
Wow.
By value, take a look. We are dependent on China for our equipment in factories.
Yes.
Right? And even the solar panels, the key parts come from China. So our manufacturing is not ready. It's not ready. We will get some benefits, no question. But we aren't ready. We need to get ready.
Interesting. Got it.
Okay. All right. So I hope that's an answer, but
that was wonderful.
Watch the discussion as it unfolds on, you know, I'm following up on my book of 2 years ago, and now out of sheer arrogance on my part, I called them as non-official India Development Goals, NIDGs. I said, you know, I want to make clear that this is not official. It has nothing to do with any agency. It's just
got it.
Non-official India Development Goals and how to achieve them. So we will have discussions on this channel.
Got it. Brilliant. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, good. So you told me the first one will be up maybe by today, maybe by the time you wake up, it will be up.
Sure.
It has 4 young people. As it turned out, just coincidentally, they are from the north, south, east, and west. We didn't plan it that way. And I certainly did not know, but one of them said, "Oh, I studied all my life in Delhi, but I'm from Kolkata."
Wow.
So we got the east. And then, you know, by coincidence, we got, there's a woman from Tamil Nadu. She's brilliant. She's from a village that still doesn't have Wi-Fi. And now
Okay.
she's doing a PhD. And then there's a fellow from Mumbai, and there's a woman from Ludhiana. So we got the North,
Okay.
South, East, and West. All right.
Perfect.
Good. So thank you, Pranoy.
Thank you so much,
Let's
Dr.
keep this
Subodh.
going, and
Sure.
maybe we catch up with you 1 year from now to see how you're doing. Let's
Sure,
end this
wonderful.
recording here and say
Sure,
bye
sure.
to the viewers. I'll be back
Yeah.
with another young person or an
Sure.
expert, and
Sure.
let's say bye for the moment. Okay, bye everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Mother. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone, all the viewers. Bye.